everyone, and welcome to another insightful episode of The Lion's Den. I'm your host, Venezia Leone, and today I sat down with Ravi Sahu, who's the founder and CEO of Strayos, which is an AI company transforming how the world mines critical minerals. My conversation with Ravi was extremely insightful because we really deep dove into how AI can drive safer and cleaner and more efficient mining through the use of digital twins and spatial optimization. Ravi has an interesting perspective because he entered into this conservative industry trying to build a business, and he learned a lot and he shares a lot about what he learned building a company in an industry where people have different priorities and make decisions based on different types of principles than maybe a SaaS business would. We also talk about what started to go right, which has driven Strayos to the success it is today. And on a more long-term note, where the industry is going and how critical mining is for this energy transition that we as a society are amidst. So hope you guys really enjoy the episode. And thanks again for watching The Lion's Den. Hello, Ravi. Welcome to The Lion's Den. We're so excited to have you today. You've had a fantastic career from enterprise IT and consulting to now working in the mining industry on an AI startup. What drew you to mining and what problem were you originally trying to solve?
Thank you, Venezia, for having me in the podcast. It's great to be here to share more about the mining industry and my background. So what drew me to the mining industry is really solving these real world problems. I've been always drawn into this enterprise and data engineering problems, more kind of complex world. When I saw the mining industry, it's more of the same, more data, but it's all real and it's all physical. And when I saw the intersection of these two things, more physical and then lots of data and what problem we can solve, that drew me to really look into the industry and what are the problems that we can really figure out and solve.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm not sure I would have assumed that mining has a lot of data behind it. So is this something that they just kind of track, for me and for listeners who might not be familiar, they're tracking all the different sites and all the different production, and they're just tracking all these different pieces of the process?
Absolutely. So you may ask why mining, right? And then also why a lot of the people, essentially, there is a misconception that it's just a hard kind of heavy industry and then old industry. Are they still digital or what sort of kind of data that they have? But as you know, mining has been adopting technology from very early days, but it's usually that the adoption is always in the nascent stages, which means they buy the technology but never gets full-fledged deployed and implemented. So it's always a question of the ROI there. And when I see the mining, it's one of the most essential and fundamental industries on earth. And everything we build, from a phone to a skyscraper, starts with materials, from the ground. But it's all the way it's been done. That's been where a lot of the problem occurs. They have data, but essentially, how do you actually bring it together and utilize it to extract the ore more properly? And that's where some of the misconception lies in is there a data and what we can do to utilize this data. So the data are being collected through sensors, from the site tracking, any type of visual sensors, right? We are living in the age of now drones, robotics. These are becoming more and more common to go and collect this data, utilize these tools. So bringing those data and applying it to solve those optimization problems in the mine. How do we mine the ores, from the ground?
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said that, it makes sense to me about your kind of application of AI, because I feel like AI is really, really advantageous when you have a lot of data and you don't really know what exactly to do with it. So is that also something that kind of inspired you to bring AI to the industry because you knew insights could be found with the right models and the right data sets?
Exactly. Yeah. So we founded I founded Strayos to solve this, essentially the core problem. Essentially, what I describe is Strayos is it's a physical AI company, which means we collect the data that's been really generated from these sites, which means it's an actual environment, and then we take that and we build a digital twin, and then we apply various AI models to understand how to extract the rock more properly, and how to drill it properly, and how to blast it properly. And this data creates this kind of massive impact. And that's where the AI comes into the picture, which means if we have a lots of data, what's one of the ways that you can build more models which can predict better conditions about the geology, better conditions about how what's going to happen through in a digital twin or kind of more generative models perspective. And that's one of the key differences. Some of the use cases that we see, the immediate impact that comes in from the mining data sets, which means it's real, and then the outcome you can see it immediately because you know exactly what you're getting out of from these AI models. So that's where the biggest benefits we have seen
Yeah.
for the AI.
Yeah, the digital twin is something that I kind of learned about recently, and it still blows my mind that we're able to recreate physical space within like a computer and manipulate it with the exact same physics and all of that. Very, very impressive. So I want to dive a little bit into kind of your journey as a founder, because I imagine something like this. You have a lot of disconnected systems. You have a lot of, old like people who've been in the industry forever and kind of newcomers. So I'd love to hear a little bit about like your hardest challenges at the beginning of founding Strayos. Like, was it funding? Was it product market fit? Was it breaking into a traditional industry? Would love to kind of understand your journey.
Yeah. So my background is always has been the enterprise software. Been building softwares for the large Fortune 500 companies, and then I did a couple of startups, but more as in the role of or the capacity of CTO, which means building just a tech. So I've never been a founder, and the Strails is my kind of sort of the first founding kind of as a founder role that I took, and then I'm always been a builder, so the building things comes more naturally. But everything else, which is raising the funds, as well as how to go and find product market fit, as well as how to get your first customers, was all hard learnings. And that did happen kind of, more in the first couple of years. It was more sort of like drinking from the hose type of environment where everything has been thrown, and also at the same time learning an entirely new industry where the technology space, which means when you go and talk to the end users in this industry, which were very open to give you a chance, but at the same time, they are very risk averse, which means mining is an environment where everything relies on the safety. And if your tech is creating an unsafe or risky environment, they do not give you a second chance. So first of all, it's mostly the finding those kind of early champions was extremely challenging, which means ability to kind of convince them that the tech, and then also we've been building the AI models with AI was before the chat GPTs or the LLMs were there. So we had to come back and said like, even though this is an AI model, but this is going to solve your problem, forget about the AI. We had to taper down the AI narrative when we started about 7 years ago. But now they want a solution which has AI in it. So my journey, the challenging part was a lot more related to essentially going and having this customer conversations, and especially this industry where the attention that you're seeking is not related to what's their budget, or what's their whether do they have a that does our technology proves the economic value for them. It's never about that. They have budgets. They have essentially, if it works, they will purchase it. But it's more about the attention, which means mining is a resource constrained industry. Every minute that they are giving, that means, or even trying your technology, it's an attention for them. So it has to kind of, usually will have to come in, or it's like a hump that you have to go through, that this is going to work, and then you essentially find a champion. So it was the most challenging part for us when we first started. And then my journey essentially is to making sure that I am playing essentially a role as not to be an expert in this industry, essentially be very honest and open, essentially that I am here to learn. I am a tech person. I can build things, but at the same time, I want to learn and go deeper about your problem. And that's where the magic started to happen. When they saw the other side, that somebody, an outsider coming from into this industry, where they have always wanted to have a solution provider who can solve real problems, but essentially understand and build with them. And that's where we started to see, and I started to see that shift, that, not, I'm not a domain expert, but I'm here to learn. I want to spend time with you. Essentially, I would just go into the site and stay there for, like, several days with them, just follow them, and then just stay with them, and then hang out with them to kind of learn more. And that's where we started to see a lot of this early developments come to fruition.
Yeah. It's interesting because as you were talking about that, the things that came to mind were like empathy, humility, curiosity, like all these aspects of a founder that put you in the position of, I want to solve your problem, but you guys are the experts, and I'm more of someone coming and trying to build a solution for you. And it's awesome to see that kind of that approach ended up paying off in the long run. I'd be interested a little bit in when you at the beginning you were talking about, okay, how do I find the right customers, how do I convince them that I can use your data in a productive way to increase efficiency and all those things. How did you end up finding the data before customers were willing to take the time to give it to you?
Yeah. So it was essentially the approach that I took in the beginning is, let me uh, let me build a solution which is kind of will solve your one or two key problems, which is which essentially will solve the biggest problem they always had, is having an ability to understand how to drill. In If you have a mining block that you want to start and drilling, and that usually requires an understanding of what's the how deeper to drill, what's the ore body, and knowledge that needs to be gained. So they do need to provide that data. And then my approach was, what I want to give you as an output is, you will have a better understanding after you run this data through the algorithms that we have. There will be an output for you.
Hmm.
I'm not promising that will be great, but you will gain some understanding
Uh-huh.
from this, and that's how we started to kind of like really position ourselves, that you're gonna get a simple understanding of, like, what is the how much what's the geology of that rock is, what's the constraint that you're gonna see when you drill, and then also what's the chemistry conditions are there in this rock, so that you have a good understanding of how to put the energy. And so we really kind of focused on what are the key elements they take as a user, or as in their journey, as they are following the path of kind of the drilling. So in order to do that, kind of to run so for that, all their data was always sensitive. So we always made sure that everything is kind of anonymized, but they
Yep.
got an output which started to play a huge role in their day-to-day jobs then. And then the more they put, the more data got calibrated, and the more they got kind of more better outcomes from that. So that was kind of the start. And also our go to market initially, we worked with like really amazing customers who are more on the this space where they served into multiple kind of mine sites, what I call the OEMs, or in this space also the service providers, who would go and service to multiple locations. And our model was, you're gonna get this technology into your hands, and you're gonna have 30% of uplift on your drilling accuracy, or 30% kind of essentially the productivity gains on the drilling time itself. And that was kind of the focus for us. And for that, and they could see the value immediately. So for them, if they are putting a data through our platform, the digital twin data, they're going to see everything, and they're going to use this as a tool to apply on a daily basis. So instead of asking them, hey, give me your historical data, or give me the data, and then we'll build an AI model and we'll calibrate. What we did is we actually built a tool which let them do their job, like which means essentially they will design things in the platform. So it became a tool to do their daily operations. And that allows us to continually capture the data, which made our models more effective then.
Yeah. You created stickiness
Yes,
with your product because once they saw success, why wouldn't they continue to use it to, evaluate the next drill site or the next,
yes.
type of process that they were using? That's awesome. So I want to talk a little bit about mining and energy, and kind of like the energy transition that we're going through as the world. So one of the things that you talk about is mining is essential, for us as the
Mhm.
world moving forward. Why is that, and what role do you see AI playing in making it more sustainable?
Yeah. So as we kind of look into the mining industry, this is one of the most critical industries right now, and it's in a huge transformational phase at the moment. We've always relied on the mining, but has been a time now where mining is becoming more and more critical, because now we are going into this phase of energy transition, where we need mining more than ever. And why? Because we need a lot of minerals. We need minerals more quick, in an affordable way, and a sustainable way. So, just to give an example, the mineral supply that we need just for the next one generation, essentially what I call the technology to phase out the fossil fuels, is about 16 billion tons. That's what we need. What we have is only 1.4 billion tons. So that is what the scope that we are dealing with. So we need to mine more effectively and more sustainably. Where the AI comes into the equation is we have only limited deposits, which means limited reserves. So if we just go and say like, hey, we're just gonna mine and open more mines, that's not possible, because there are only limited deposits are there. And
Hmm.
even the existing open mines are there, we have to use them more effectively. Mining is one of the industry where it's always a marginal business, which means they repeat the same process. They go, they dig big holes, and then they extract the rocks, and then they send it to the processing plant, and you process them, and then you hope that your cost is like not overly expensive, as a part of kind of the overall production. But also at the same time, those reserves that you're mining, that needs to be very effectively mined, so that you're only drilling or only extracting the rock in a most effective form, so that you're not damaging the overall deposits, what they call the yield or the ratio. So AI essentially focuses on, instead of mining it, essentially what we have always done, which means buy more bigger machines or buy more bigger trucks, and just uh, drill extract rocks, send it to the plant, and then you get materials, and hopefully your yield is proper. Now it has been shifted, which means you have more understanding of the data. So exactly we're going to target, instead of having drilling, uh, let's say for an example, uh, 2 acres, that you're drilling. Can you do that the same in 1 acre, and then also essentially with less, uh, less depth, but at the same time, when after the drilling, you are only targeting the deposits which are more effective. For an example, giving an example of nickel or lithium, these are all essentially, or copper, these are all critical minerals. And when you mine when you get that out of the ore body or the reserves, you're only targeting specific grades, and that becomes your kind of production yield higher then. So this, you're making that same resource or same deposit more effective. And that's where the AI kind of really plays the role, which ability to understand the data that's there and only targeting those specific zones. And all it requires to have a data from sensing, other sensors, the equipment sensors are there, and then bring it all together and generate this kind of digital twin to give them that understanding. So they are not finding it essentially randomly.
Yeah. So to say that back to you, do you feel is the is the bigger problem I'm mining this reserve, and in doing so I'm actually targeting something that's every 2 inches because that's, the tradition, but really I should do this every 4 and then this every 6 because of the way it's actually in the ground. And so that's how, like, you kind of lose the maximum yield per
Mhm.
drill because you're not actually targeting like the exact dimensions of these reserves or these deposits within the reserves.
Yes, yeah. So that's one part of the equation. The another part is essentially when you're when the drilling is one part. So you summarized it well, but then after you drill it, you put an explosives in these drilled holes and you blast it. Uh, and if that process or if that step is not done right, so if I and the ore or the material comes in a form of kind of mix, right? So there could be a mix of copper, other elements, and then when you're blasting, there could be a waste as well in that.
Mm,
And when you blast, the material gets mixed. You don't want to mix ore and the waste because now you have to spend extra dollars to go and filter it and then also process. Sometimes what happens, they load the material and send it to the plant and they process it and they're processing waste, and then they're spending more money
mm,
to on the processing side to essentially kind of refine it.
yeah.
So what if we can reduce this cost? And then that's where the energy part comes into the play, which means mining essentially takes 3% of the total electricity consumption globally to process the ore.
Wow.
3%. Right, so which is huge. It doesn't, it's looks like a small number, but that's huge in terms of kind of,
Concentrated.
yeah, concentrated, yes. So if we can reduce the processing part, which means if they can, what if they don't have to process more of this, just kind of, some certain percentage that they can reduce, what they have to process less tons,
Yeah.
because it's only processing the ore, you're not processing the waste. So all waste goes into only the dump piles, like, where, or generate less waste.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the focus here as well, apart from the drilling side, where so it's a combination of two: the upstream, how you mine, and then also how you process.
Yeah. That's really awesome that you can affect efficacy like on the front end and the back end, right? So you're
Yeah.
creating more energy and you're using less energy.
Yes.
So that's yeah, that's inspiring. Um, so Strayos, you've scaled globally. Congrats. What were some of the biggest inflection points? I know you talked about at the beginning, getting that first customer, being the leader that was required. But as you grew and as you scaled, what are some other challenges that you encountered?
Yeah, growth has always been a a journey in terms of its different varieties of growth and different phases, right? So initially, it was more about making sure that we have a product market fit, but at the same time, as we are growing, we are building things simultaneously, and that's always was one of the key things that our customers liked. We have first few customers, and they were amazed by how fast we moved in terms of our product roadmap. And so there was always a pull, and so they would engage with us so much. They will give feedback. So that part ignited them so much that they would go and talk to other their friends, and say like, hey, we have some company, because they're always like excited to share that, what newer things that they are doing, and the newer things that they have adopted in their mind side, and what benefit that they are getting, or in just in general that they're working with a new AI technology, like, to share. And that's what essentially a lot of word of mouth will say, which means, a referral, and the word of mouth, they will just share with me, hey, I referred you to there, and then and so that was pretty much for the first few years for us. We would talk to customers, and then we would then just say, hey, I found you from one of my common friend, and then they kind of wanted to try your platform. Later on, it was started to occur, essentially our customers would go into a different site to do the service, different kind of this is spread, what I call it's not exactly a network effect, but it's kind of a byproduct of network effect. They will go into a site and do essentially reporting through our platform. That report essentially is being read by the actual end operator of their mine, of the mine. So a contractor doing the job for the mine, and the mine is essentially reading, oh, this is useful for us. We would like to see what other capabilities this platform has. And that kind of became more of like a Trojan horse for us, like, and we started to gain some of these customers who would come directly to us and say like, hey, we saw some and some using your platform. We see it's like very effective. We want to kind of also try this out. And
Yeah.
that's another kind of strategy was there. Later we started to build more go to market essentially through resellers, and so that was kind of the really became the focus. um, Sales is one of the area we have really never been able to scale our team, because most of the time it's mostly what we prefer is it's very technical oriented product and domain oriented. So uh, actually a bunch of our customer decided later, or they've always expressed interest that they want to join our team because they love the product so much. So we hired some of these customer, and they became obviously the best fit for us to go and out there and talk to another customer, bring similar customers that they were before. So um, that was kind of another a way we started to build slowly our team on the sales side. Now we are really as a growth, what we are pursuing is structuring kind of more uh, OEM types of channels, and licensing our technology. Um, but the growth uh, go to market has always been one of the areas in this segment. It's not the typical go to market from the SaaS perspective,
Yep.
because even we can push more dollars or push like subsidized technology, but the customers industry in this industry, they will only buy when they see uh, it's accurate, it's safer, and it solves the problem. The question about the uh, unit economics or the budget, never comes into the picture. But these three things: is it accurate? That's one of the bigger things that everybody looks for. So it has been essentially we've been pretty much dialing down onto those as a value proposition, and then of course like how much it is affecting their bottom line and the process. That's been the focus, and now we are starting to roll out our own teams in different locations globally as well. So we have started to do it in Europe and South America, and now we are focusing in the other regions as well.
Yeah. That's it's such a cool story, and I feel like it's so unique to be able to say, I built a good product and people want it. Like, especially now with SaaS and AI, there's so many competitors and there's so many people building that for you to have like found this very niche application and with your skill set as a builder and as a leader in tech, like really be able to refine it to kind of speak for itself. That's such an awesome accomplishment. So, my kind of last question is a little bit about looking ahead. So, when you think about the next, 5 to 10 years, how do you see AI shaping sustainable mining and the broader energy transition as a whole?
Yeah. So when I describe or when I look into the 10 years, how the AI will change the industry, um, I was recently going through some of my own reflections, building the product in this space from the last 7 years, and I have seen an immense change. And when I look into before 7 years, when some digging, right, it has already been changing rapidly. And I see in the next 10 years, it will even change more than what has happened in the 100 years. So you can see the impact. It is multiplying like crazy. Now, with the AI, what I see is the combination of multiple forces. One is the uh, mining sites are always in remote areas, very harsh conditions, um, which means you barely have any network or connectivity. So we can't just deploy the technology and say like hey, here is cloud or here is kind of the edge. So uh, there were multiple forces were kind of happening from the last few years. So one is the compute. We're scaling fast, and the compute got really better. One is the network side. We started to see the Starlink connectivity playing an important role, which helped us to deploy these hardwares and devices and able to run the edge systems, and able to deploy these AI models as well at the edge. So there's two things. And then the third thing is the combination of what I call the sensory layer. See, the sensors are the computer vision sensors and the machine vision, and then the other augmented layer sensors, which means ability to kind of understand what's the rock chemistry is. Those sensors started to become much more powerful in the last kind of few years. So what I see, what's the next 10 years looks like, I see an ability where the entire mine process will get more automated, not in terms of essentially uh, automation in terms of replacing the groundwork or the mining engineers itself, but I think it's more related to the mining engineers going to be sitting in the remote location and being able to kind of guide and navigate not only where to mine, but also exactly give the instructions to drill machines, which will become more autonomous. So, which means we will have a communication with our platform, the software, more of a AI guided drilling, and able to understand and sense as they're hitting the rock how to change the path if that's not the path that they need to that the drill need to take. So more autonomy will become a key part of this. And the other part is the intelligence. As the data is being gathered real time, ability to analyze instantly at the edge, so that the machines become more smarter, which means the machines can start to understand uh, if the certain ore body is producing more waste. So having a more guiding factor, for that, like, this geology is not performing well, but then when it's going to the crushing plant, they are uh, measuring the throughput like real time. That really doesn't happen at the moment, and that's what we call mine to mill. If I can trace each rock that's coming from the ground into the plant, I have a good understanding of how to process this mineral. And if we can connect to this dot, they call the holy grail of what mining methods, and that will start to become like more and more clear. So we're going to only focus on generating the actual minerals and forget about essentially kind of creating any waste, which means there will be no waste mines. Of course, that's um, that's something everybody's aspiring for, and everybody's kind of looking. But when I see is like the acceleration in the computing technology, the sensing technology, and then the autonomy, and then throw in the layer of the AI there, will create a huge impact in the next 10 years, and will bring kind of the next generation of the autonomy. Another part that I would like to highlight is what's going to be changed in the talent density side as well. So mining industry currently produces in US only 500 graduates, and these graduates are essentially undergrad, PhDs, and then the mining engineers like masters. So you can see such a from the workforce perspective, it's very it's challenging, and now this industry needs a lot of kind of workforce. But how do you solve this problem? Is you have this kind of technology in place, and then you have the talent density coming from the other industries, which means builders from the other adjacent industries, which have been where they know about kind of the autonomous technologies and then solving problems in this space. So we were going to see more and more mainstream other industries coming into the workforce to the mining industry. So that's another change that uh, I I think it will definitely happen in the next 10 years. More tech workforce joining the mining industry, or we call the geologist or the mining engineer becoming the pseudo kind of tech AI engineer who will solve real problems using the mining data sets.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I really love about that is all of those things make it seem like it'll be safer. So not only more efficient, and help us in this kind of energy transition, but it also sounds like the whole process will get a lot safer for a lot of individuals. So Ravi, it was so nice to have you on the podcast. Thanks so much for joining me. If anybody wants to find out more about Strayos, they can go to strayos.com or follow on LinkedIn. But it was a pleasure.
Thank you, Venezia. It was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.